Uh, Speaking of treating yourself like an animal, Eric, now that you know what it means, do you want to say it?
No, because it'll screw up the sound.
Oh, you already did. This ain't rock and roll. This is genocide, you goddamn animals. Welcome. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to call you goddamn animals.
Yeah, that was
I mean,
rude.
Gosh darn animals.
There you go. That's less rude.
By definition, right?
Yeah, that's Dan.
Hi, I'm Dan. That's Eric, and
Hello.
this is Bowiesplaining.
That's us.
This is a very, very different sort of episode for us because we're doing David live. Now, people who are familiar with the discography of one Mr. David Bowie knows exactly why it's so different, and Eric's about to find out why it's so why this is not going to be a side A and side B situation. It is probably like an EP. The reason for this is, you ready for this, Eric?
Let's go for it.
Okay, here we go. First of all, David Bowie hated this album.
Okay.
It's called David Live, even though he was marketing himself as Bowie. Okay?
I brought that up when we were just
Yeah.
That seems a little odd.
This was recorded at the Tower in Philadelphia. He was experimenting with what we talked about before, which was Philly soul, very specific sort of soul. And he found this band. I believe this is the second tour. I'm still unclear if this is the first or second tour, but basically the band was able to do more of a soul sound, as I'm sure you heard, and we will talk about. Here's where we get to why this album is the way it is.
Uh-oh.
Bad Tony convinced Bowie to record some concerts and release them as live albums. He figured it fills a contractual obligation. It's easy money. Bad Tony, being Bad Tony, decided, what if we try doing this without telling the band? So,
are we trying to do this so we don't pay the band?
Yes, that's exactly. Yes.
Okay.
So
I get it.
Yes. So the bassist, Herbie Flowers, noticed extra mics being put on stage, and he figured it out. He talked to the band, and they were like, "This isn't cool." And they refused to play without getting paid the usual extra fees that one pays for a live album.
For an album, yeah.
Bad Tony then, of course, wrote them all checks for $5,000 to cover the difference. The checks bounced. David Bowie then paid all of them in cash out of his own pocket. I feel like he was angry at the inconvenience of this, and possibly less so at Bad Tony, which led to some kind of disagreements. But hey, it's an album.
It's not the end of the Bad Tony era, I assume.
We're very, very nearing.
Okay. So this did push us a little further. All right.
Yes, and we are, by the way, almost at peak cocaine.
Ooh, okay. I was kind of wondering. He's got some choices that he makes where I'm like, I think there's some influence happening here.
Yeah, and I think it's also him leaning in on the soul thing and kind of being like, hey, what if let's try this, this is promotion for the Diamond Dogs tour itself. So maybe it was recorded on the first leg. Anyway, so it was released to promote the second leg of the tour, because what they did is they started, I believe, in LA and went across eastward and then went back.
Okay, so he's still in the Hunger City. That took me a second there to remember. He's still in the Hunger City set?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
This was mixed by Tony Visconti and Bowie in a rush. It was also recorded a month before they recorded Young Americans. So
wow. So he's in active songwriting mode and 100%. Touring mode.
Yeah. And the tapes were terrible, but they found an engineer who, according to Good Tony Visconti, was a major cokehead who would play the mixing board like he was like a concert pianist, and they even Bowie and Visconti would just look at him like, okay, well, he'll get it done. So like he knew the board and they needed to get it done, so they're like, this guy is fucking weird, but okay.
He seems trustworthy enough.
Well,
Take our
I think
take
they
our
just
tapes.
I think they just recognize that, like, this is a rush job, so whatever, dude. But again, this fits with that thing that I was talking about with Bowie, where he's just kind of like stumbling around with these weirdos, which I think is a great thing, by the way. I'm not saying that in a critical way.
Well, yeah, I mean that's how he made Diamond Dogs, just
Right.
running from studio to studio.
Yeah, it's just like
Cheese it, it's the feds to the next studio.
totally.
That's what he sounded like at the time.
Yeah. This was Howard Stern's, by the way, introduction to David Bowie. And when he told him this, when Bowie performed at one of Howard Stern's birthday episodes, he told him that. He said, I used to play this album all the time. His reaction was, oh, wow.
That awkward. Thank you.
Okay.
That would be like somebody saying, "Hey, I love the Supreme Resort, the Haunted Mansion episode,
It's my
absolute favorite."
Yeah, why don't you do more of those? Yeah. When they did Space Oddity, the original release of this album did not include Space Oddity because the audio was so bad.
Oh,
And that's partially because he was on a phone over the audience, which might explain why it sounds the way it does on this album. Now let's see. I think
that explains why one of his most famous songs was not included on the original pressing. Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. It's background for Young Americans, 1974. They moved to America. Yeah, you know what? We can skip all this. It was we've talked about the tour in the previous episode.
Uh-huh.
There's nothing really new there. This is what happens when I have AI like do my notes for me.
You're like, wait, we've already done all of this.
Right. Earl Slick got involved. He was recruited for the early Diamond Dogs tour. He has a background in blues and rock, and they found that he was good for playing the album's material live. He had a lot of experience with Sam and Dave, James Brown, Wilson Pickett, and I mention him mainly because he's someone that's going to stick around for. Well, he comes and goes, but he's part of the arsenal for some time. As are some of the other people in this album. Mike Garson is, of course, back, and Mike to this time. Carlos Alomar is on guitar. He plays rhythm guitar. He a lot of Bowie's sound going forward comes from some of his rhythm guitar fuckery. Dennis Davis is back. David Sanborn's on sax because David Bowie couldn't play this. I mean, he could play the sax, but he was busy.
Busy running around the stage.
Busy running around and getting on the phone. And
so when you say he was on a phone for Space Oddity, let's back up.
Yeah.
He was, what did he like call the auditorium?
No, it's a prop phone, but
okay.
But they wanted to, like, it was an actual phone that they refitted to be a microphone, which 1973, 74 technology.
So like the worst receiver you can imagine.
Most likely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we have some more backup singers. Luther Vandross is part of it.
Oh, wow.
Warren Peace is in there. In there. I'm having speaking difficulties today.
Hey.
Ava Cherry's there. Those are all names that kind of stick around to some extent. Luther Vandross is a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and they do great. I love the backup singers.
Yeah.
They do some weird stuff that I think is pretty fun.
I think that this album is actually it is fun. Bowie hated this album, like I said, with a red hot passion. And that's part of the reason why I didn't really give it much of a chance early on. I was like, well, I mean, if he doesn't like it, then, and I mean, if you look at the picture, it's like this, this is, this is, he doesn't look well. Um, and he even commented later on the cover, he said, it's really more like David is alive, but only in theory. uh, very little memory of recording it. It was apparently this recording was just after he had sorted the financial situation with the band. So like a lot of tension, but you know, they're all professionals. So it's like, well, we got to do this and we got paid. So I guess we got what we wanted and
Right.
everything's right by them at this point. But, um, I think that's about it. Unless Eric, do you have anything that you want to get into with like side A-ish kind of stuff? I think we're just going to talk about go track by track and talk about the tracks.
All right. Yeah. I didn't do any research as usual, except for listening to the album a bunch of times. So,
one thing I want to know, does this change your prediction about where Young Americans goes?
ooh, I mean, like you said earlier, he was experimenting with Philly soul, and you can feel a lot of that here. And then he starts getting into some of these. I mean, not to jump too far ahead, but we've got Knock on Wood and Here Today, Gone Tomorrow that show up on this album, which are when I got to Knock on Wood, I'm like, what? And then an Ohio Players song, like, huh?
Mm-hmm.
These are the songs that he decided to cover and cover pretty straightforward. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Young Americans does change up a little bit, but
Okay.
I haven't listened to that episode in a while, so I can't remember what
All
I
right.
predicted.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, maybe he's going to go for a little bit more of that jam sound because this live band is clearly a good live band.
They're a good band. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Not that Spiders weren't a good band, but this is definitely more like, okay, these are professionals. They know what they're doing.
right. This is a band that's like you said, they're used to playing live. They're professionals at this. There are points where I mean they're classic parts where you do most of the song and then you get to the solo section and you decide, okay, who's going to do the solos in this one? And in Aladdin Sane, you've got piano and saxophone fighting. It's awesome. And then you get like the classic trading solos in some of the songs, like
Mhm.
Panic in Detroit, where it's like, all right, everybody gets 2 bars, let's go. And
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you can imagine a band leader just pointing, okay,
Yeah.
bass.
Yeah. They're whether it's directed by him or not, they are definitely having fun being a band.
Right. Yeah, it's clear that they're having a good time, even
Right.
if Bowie doesn't like the final product. The band's having a good time. And you asked me, since I had to delay recording yesterday because I found out we were going to Benihana with friends.
How was it?
It was grand,
Did you hear
very
about
grand.
TV shows?
What's that?
Did you hear about TV shows?
Oh, I heard about TV shows, yes, and many other things.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine I'm guessing that our chef was in training because we were in a weird little like back room
Nice.
alone, and he messed up a lot of stuff and didn't do all the tricks.
Hmm.
Yeah, but
Did you slam your utensils down and say, "This is the second time in a row I will not stand for this"?
right. But no. But you asked me to compare this album to
Oh,
Benihana,
right.
and I think the thing that stuck in my head this popped in my head last night after we got home. This album is like Benihana, and you'll understand this experience, Dan, because we had a lackluster chef
Mm-hmm.
at your first Benihana experience and only Benihana experience
Right.
in Anaheim a few weeks ago. And you're there for Benihana, you're there for this chef, you're there for David Bowie. But every once in a while you're like, I kind of want to listen to what's going on over there. Can I go over there and listen? Because the band sounds like they're having a blast. I want to go hang out with the band. I want to go hang out at that table with that chef who's got the train whistle out.
That's true. Yeah. You gotta have the train. Oh, by the way, hold on.
Oh, that's my comparison. Let's see. Oh, Wow.
I got this at Knott's.
Wow. You got a train whistle at Knott's. Now I really wish I had gone instead of spending all day on a VIP tour of Disneyland.
I know you missed out on so much.
Oh,
Um, all right. So I'm not used to this format of podcasting, so bear with me.
you mean podcasting at
linear,
all?
linear,
We've been doing
and
this for a
actually
while.
talking about a thing in an order that makes sense.
We could just jump around the tracks if you want,
We
but
could jump up, and get down. By the way, it's too late for me to make this joke in a way that's going to land at all. But I was thinking about referring to "Knock on Wood" as a song people know almost exclusively from the hit film Roadhouse. Um, anyway, so it starts with 19.
he's cracking himself up. All right, we'll keep the audio going here. I'll just keep the show rolling.
I just
He thought that was very clever.
no, I thought it was completely stupid, and that's what made me break.
Oh, okay.
1984. It starts out with almost like a flute kind of thing, right?
Yeah, yeah, there's a flute and then a soprano sax and then a little piano weirdness that joins in, and I don't know, just the kind of I'd expect something like that at a David Bowie concert.
Right. It's
Weird
safe
noodling.
it's safe to assume, I think, that David Sanborn can play a flute, right? The kind of a lot of people who can play woodwind can play all the woodwinds, or at least
Yeah.
have some ability with them.
Yeah, I can see that.
They're all kind of
not
the same
not being a
instrument.
woodwind player, I don't know for sure, but
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. Let's just say that they can.
sure, why not?
Woodwind players, call in 856 are yours. Let's play a little bit of it. Let's see what happens. Eric, let me tell me about your experience listening to this song as it ruins the audio while you speak.
Oh, well, that helps us get around Iman's copyright.
It actually does. So
I heard the intro. I'm like, okay, yeah, this sounds like a David Bowie concert. And then it started up and I went, wow, 1984, we're starting with that. I'm like, Dan's going to love this album.
uh-huh.
But, I think it works well live. It's a good song for live. It's a fun song off of Diamond Dogs. And, I was curious how many backup singers he's got going, because it sounds like they're having a good time here.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you got that wah-wah, the bass pops in. It's a heavy start. Like, this is a good way to start a show.
Yeah, totally. And so this, just a personal anecdote. I used to listen. When I discovered that this album was not awful and was in fact kind of this weird hot mess of an album that I really appreciate, and I started to really enjoy it on its own, but still also like kind of embrace the weirdness of it. Like it's
okay,
maybe
yeah.
the most mid-70s thing ever recorded.
Oh yeah, for sure. I
Yeah.
mean, that song in particular it doesn't strike me as a Bowie song in general. It doesn't match the feel of anything else of his stuff. And then the whole album, the way they're jamming sounds like a lot of 70s jam bands. And yeah.
So I would amuse myself and my friends to no end. We would play this. We would play this album. This was before any of us were the age of 21, and we were good boys, so we weren't being bad. When we would play Super Mario Brothers 3 on an old, this is when the console was old. So yes, we are old, in fact, but we were doing it with nostalgia. We would listen to this album and we would crack each other up by doing the following. Okay, don't sue us, Amon. Please don't sue us, Amon.
Yes, please. Please sue us. We need notoriety.
Here we go. This is the part. Ladies and gentlemen, the Sands Hotel and Casino presents David Bowie.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I like that.
And it kind of just, that moment just sort of diffuses for me the weirdness of the entire album because there are moments where it's just like, I think I'm in Laughlin. And again, not in a bad way at all. Or like I texted you, and this was all I was re-listening to the album yesterday. I texted you that I really enjoy pretending that this is like the best David Bowie cover band ever playing at a wedding for David Bowie fans. And it just works. And again,
It
I
does.
don't mean any of this in a negative sense. I actually really, I don't want to say love this. I adore this album in the same way that one like adores someone who's kind of like, oh, you.
Yeah, I expected things to change throughout the album. Like
Hmm.
I mean, generally like a Bowie album,
Right.
but it being a live show and him having a consistent band this time instead of his studio guys, it it's what you would expect with a gig band.
Right.
Everybody's out on stage the whole time. It's like, well, we've got saxophone. How do we do the saxophone in this song? Great.
How many things can we have the saxophone play?
Right. Piano and sax. Great. Duet.
Right.
um,
Uh,
you have other saxes? Cool. Can you play two at the same time? Do it.
totally. It's just like a kid in a candy store in a lot of ways.
Right.
Um, and then, by the way, after I giggled to myself after sending you that text, I continued listening to this album while watching YouTube videos of white people dancing, and it fit perfectly. It was wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Really good. Nice thing about videos of white people dancing is it doesn't matter if it syncs up or not because it doesn't anyway.
There's a Facebook account that a friend of mine occasionally reposts, and it's entirely the same. I think the name of it is the same clip of white men dancing to different songs.
Yeah,
And it's just this clip of old men dancing,
that
looking up
sounds
there at maybe a bluegrass festival or something, and every day it's a different song.
that sounds perfect. So we start with the weird song, and then we go into, hold on, let me get the volume down there, and we go into Rebel Rebel with the new-ish arrangement where they all say lie 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 lie.
Again, they've got backup singers, so why not?
Why not? And it has a vague Latin feel to it, I think. I am either happy or sad, depending on your reaction, to tell you this is kind of how this is the arrangement that he kind of used to some extent for the rest of his career for this song. I don't necessarily like it.
Okay. I don't like the starting it with hot tram. Like,
Yeah.
we're doing a tag at the start. Just start the song. We all know the riff.
Yeah. Yeah.
The alternate riff with the sax is actually more fun. Like the sax is playing I mean it's just a counter melody, a counter riff in a way.
Oh, let's see. See, that just pulls me out of it.
This is the big sax solo, which is pretty rad. So it's not here. It's probably earlier in the song.
Okay, let's see. This is where. Oh yeah, the that part. Yeah. Okay, yeah. If I'm not finding it, tell me.
Yeah, it's not there. It needs to be like the main. Yes, we're gonna hit you here now. Or it's the backup singers. I don't know where it is. He doesn't do it the whole song. Oh well. The rest of the song, he's just jamming out on his own, fitting in with things and listening to the room. So that's great.
Fun story about David Sanborn.
Oh.
I decided that, so again, grew up in the 80s and saxophones were cool in the 80s.
They sure
And,
were.
and in elementary school, I decided I'm going to learn to play the saxophone. And so that way I would be cool. And,
Did it work?
well, it might have
Are you
worked.
cooler than I thought you were?
It might have worked if, first of all, it wasn't the last year that saxophones were cool. And if
Oh.
Altaloma Music Center had saxophones in stock, instead they said, "Well, we have a clarinet. It's kind of like a saxophone." And I'm like, "Okay, I guess I'm in this." And the reason I said I guess I'm in this is because my parents decided that now I loved saxophones more than anything, and they went to Rhino Records in Claremont, California, and asked, "Do you know saxophone player?" And they said, "I guess David Sanborn." So they bought me like 3 of his albums,
Well, that
and
works.
I didn't listen to them.
Oh, no. At least they didn't buy you like late stage Kenny G.
Oh God.
Not like early Kenny G, the good Kenny G.
Yeah, no, this was like between cool saxophone guy and like Kenny G just murdering the instrument for all time. And I just remember being like, this David Sanborn guy, this isn't music. I don't like this. I guess it's saxophone music. I'm acknowledging that he is indeed playing the saxophone, but I do not like this music, parents. Thank you, though.
Did they buy you a saxophone tie?
No, they didn't.
And you're like, I'm a clarinet player, Mom.
Well, the following year, Altoona Music Center did in fact have a saxophone. So I had to, I stopped playing the clarinet. I played the saxophone, and I still don't know how to play that fucking instrument.
Oh, but you caught it at the tail end, so it was like picking up Funny Farm as your first Chevy Chase movie.
Exactly. Yes, it is one. It is definitely that. That is the best analogy for it ever.
Okay.
It's like, hey, let's go see. I hear Chevy Chase is all the rage. Let's go see Funny Farm. And it's like, and like you
I'm
go.
glad that worked.
Yeah, no, and it's like you go and they tear your tickets and they like punch you in the face because they're like, fuck you. Anyway, Moonage Daydream.
Yeah, he's got some weird. He's like,
You sure are, David.
he's all coked up on this one.
Oh my, is he?
Ah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's kind of in full lounge singer mode here.
Yeah, there's a lot more talky in this. I'm the rock and rolling bitch for you.
Hold on, Iman, please don't sue us. Here we go.
Yeah, he's just going for it this time.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So I do
He's
have
just shrieking it.
I do have a number of alternate ways that I like to listen to his weirder things.
Okay.
And I think I need to start sharing them now. I like to pretend that he's just off the rails and the band's like, okay, let's go with it.
Oh man.
So like as soon as they hear, they just kind of they're still playing, but they look at each other like, oh shit, this is new territory.
Who's keeping the beat?
Yep. And he's just like meandering around the stage. He's just on a whole other level. They're like, oh fuck. I think we broke David by taking his money. All right.
Somebody raises their hand. So do we follow him or does he just kind of just sing?
Nope. We follow him. We are now the Kinks. We follow not the Kinks. We are now the Shags. We follow them. The drum is going to follow whatever the fuck they do. I'm not saying that that's what happened, but it makes this track so much more enjoyable if you embrace that mythology.
I like that.
And it's like the drummer's like,
he's
like looking around
exactly.
Like, I don't know either. I don't know, David. I don't know.
You can see him just kind of hovering, like ready. No,
like,
no.
Herbie, do something. Herbie. Like
Luther, can you turn him around? He's facing backwards on the stage.
make sure he doesn't fall off the stage. That's all we need to do is just keep him safe.
The organ is nice. I love that Moog.
Where do you hear him out?
There was a little lick back there. It comes back in later.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and the backup singer's doing the reverb. That's a cool effect.
That is kind of cool, yeah.
Right there. Yeah, I really like that.
There you go. Here it comes. You ready? Don't fake it, baby. And that's
Who gave him a foot pedal to step on?
It's the most mid-70s thing, and I love it. I love it so much. Yeah.
I like how they replaced the normal sax solo with a little pizzicato thing.
Yeah.
The like that's fun.
And the drummer loves that bell sound so much. A little too much, if you ask me. And throughout the album you can hear, I forget the drummer's name, like hitting that bell sound, like just kind of recreationally. I'm just like, all right, dude, come on.
You got like drums and cymbals, right? You can hit those too.
But whatever. Maybe it's shot night at the bar or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the staccato sax part, it took me a lot of time to warm up to it. But then when I re-listened to it yesterday, for the first time, I found it actually genuinely delightful. And it's like,
okay.
It's so cute.
Yeah, they're having fun. They know what they're supposed to play, and they're like, he's not singing it right. Why would we play it right?
And part of the mythology that we came up with while listening to this album over and over again and basically making fun of it while loving it is that at this point he starts like hopping around like a bunny. And they're like, all right, let's go with it. And he moves his little butt.
He's wagging his little puff tail.
Yeah, and that's what this picture is.
That's that move. He's just not sticking his butt out enough yet.
Yeah,
he's getting ready.
But he's into it.
Yeah, I don't know how much more to say about Moonage Daydream. It's a little unhinged, but it works.
Yeah. Listener, I highly recommend that you listen to that track with the mythology that I've introduced in mind. It's delightful.
It's changed my world.
Here,
there you go.
Oh, I love it so much. Anyway,
great effects on the sax too.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of good work on this, and I can't imagine how much better it must have sounded if it was recorded by a professional.
Mixed by not some drug addict. Well, I mean, he sold us cocaine. He seems a trustworthy individual. He's running a business, and he owns a soundboard.
It's like Bad Tony just got a discount on microphones from Federated. Here you go.
Bad Tony's like, I just paid the band all that money. And David's like, sure, Tony.
Getting them like Monopoly money. All right. Next we have Sweet Thing, Canada, Sweet Thing.
I think this is weird to do in a live show, and I think it works.
This is one of the few tracks that has, for me, it's slowed down,
yeah,
to a degree that, and I try to do this sometimes on our shows when I'm editing something and I just want to make the audience think that they're losing their minds. I will sometimes, I don't know if you've noticed this, in certain moments, I'll slow things down just enough to make it uncanny. I don't do it a lot, but just every once in a while, if it fits with like the narrative of what's happening, I don't just do it randomly. But one of the ways that I will try to induce like whiplash in the listener is I'll find that place where it's like, and I may or may not do this in editing. I think I already have by the time we get to editing this, where it's just slow enough that it sounds weird and off, but not so much that it's obvious that it's been slowed down.
Oh my goodness.
Where you're just like, am I having a stroke? But then it's like, no, it's definitely been slowed down, but I don't know why they chose to do it by 7%. Like 7.84%. Like there was this very precise thing. I suspect in listening to this again, it occurred to me that maybe it was slowed down because in this song he has to go through so many different registers.
Oh yeah,
and he doesn't have the studio to like manipulate the time there. So I feel like that was maybe the choice there, or maybe it was just like he seems tired after hopping around like a bunny during Moonage Daydream.
Yeah, there you go. He's worn out.
Yeah,
it's a little early, it seems, in a show to do a ballad sort of thing, but I don't know. It still works. It holds up.
Yeah, I agree. As you know, this is one of my favorite pieces of music that anyone has ever recorded. I love that it's here, and I really appreciate hearing it interpreted by other musicians who aren't David Bowie or Mike Garson.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, okay, we're gonna deliver the emotion that's in this song, but in a different way. Like where we would get on the album the growling guitar stuff, we get David Sanborn like wailing on the saxophone.
Oh man, that works so well. That solo break is killer with the two of them.
And I think the Sweet Thing reprise, I think Candidate is the stronger. Candidate on the album version is good, but it to me serves as like a break between both Sweet Things.
Sweet Things.
It's more of like a juxtaposition. I think it's much stronger on this album, and is this it?
Just about. Let's see.
Here we go.
Yeah, lyrically, I pick up on it more distinctly. Candidate.
Yeah, it's a lot more. I mean, the album version is definitely like menacing, but this is a lot more like cinematically menacing for me, I think. And it's letting the transition breathe, I think, which then for me makes the transition back when it kind of suddenly smashes back into the familiar place, makes that even more satisfying for me. I am sad that he doesn't say boys in this version.
And then there's a little jaunty piano solo right at the end that leads into changes.
Oh, that's right. Eric, do you have any more? I have talked over you on this track. What are your thoughts?
We've kind of covered most of my thoughts. I really just sat back yesterday when I was taking notes on this. It was probably like the 10th time I've listened to it, and I was just into it on this one. Like this is something where if I just closed my eyes and flashed bright lights in front of my face, and cranked the volume, I could feel like I was there. Like this, especially on this remastered version. Who knows what the original sounded like? But
it was pretty much garbage.
Okay, I can imagine. I mean, this whole remaster process. This is the fourth time they've released the album.
Yeah,
and it sounds great. And really, just the solos pull it together for me. And he going from the fuckery of Moonage Daydream to this, like it's like he snapped back into
Yeah.
place and went, oh, this is the hard one. I gotta try on this song.
I feel like that's sort of a theme throughout this album is it's like, okay, Rebel Rebel, it's the hit. You all know it. You all
Yeah,
know that
yeah.
you like it already, like audience. Moonage Daydream, if you're here and you know who I am, you know what that song is. I can kind of
Hmm.
mess with it. Uh, Sweet Thing Candidate, Sweet Thing, you might not have purchased this album, and now I'm going to convince you that you need to purchase this album.
Yeah, and I think that's considering the time period that kind of answered your intro answered some questions for me because there's so much Diamond Dogs on here. I felt like this has to be the part of the Diamond Dogs tour,
Right.
and saying that it's promoting the second leg of the tour, that makes a lot more sense. Otherwise, it's very Diamond Dogs heavy. But that's what you do when you've got the new album.
Right.
You pick the hits from it, and then you take one or two of the songs that you like from the album that you want your fans to like.
He does actually, in not in order, but he gets around to playing, I think, the entire album.
Yeah.
We Are the Dead is not in here, I don't think.
No.
No, but isn't it? We Are the Dead.
Let's
It's
see.
the one I always forget about in both directions. I think it's there when it's not, and
No, We
I
Are the
love,
Dead is not on
yeah,
this.
okay, but Big Brother
Big
was on it,
Brother and the
and
chant.
oh boy, did I really feel the impact of Big Brother with the world being how it is. I was like, oh, we're almost there.
Hooray! He made it.
Right. Make America great again, everybody. Anyway, changes.
Jaunty piano solo going into changes. And it continues here. The part where most of the audience is going, what's he going to play next? Oh, yeah, it's the song we know.
He's doing the thing. Speaking of doing the thing, this is another thing that kind of tangent. I've promised everybody I will share karaoke things. This is one of the places where I don't know, Eric. You said you haven't been to karaoke,
I've
or
never karaokeed.
oh my
No,
goodness! But have you been? Have you
I've
witnessed?
been to karaoke.
Okay.
Yes.
Have you noticed? And maybe not, because you probably. I don't think a lot of people have done karaoke as much as I have in my past. 7 nights a week for some period of time. Everybody.
Wow.
Yep. Not. I wasn't obnoxious at all. I was cool. There's a thing that happens at karaoke where when a song has a swear word in it, especially if it's the fuck word, they will make a real meal out of the word almost. And what's real funny is the audience who, let's face it, nerds, they eat that shit up. Oh, he did it. Oh, he did it. Oh, shit, he did it. I didn't think he was going to say the fuck word, but he said the fuck word. When he says these children that they shit on in this song,
Oh yeah.
it is
He's playing it up.
100. It is 100% that energy. It's like, oh yeah, I did it. I did it, guys. Oh, I gotta find it.
Oh, you went too far.
Did I?
Isn't it in the first?
Uh-uh.
It's in the second verse.
Oh, maybe it's this one.
Oh, you went way
Okay.
too far now.
Here we go.
Okay, you're right.
Makes me laugh every time.
He does it later in Cracked Actor. Falls wanking to the floor. The BBC won't let me sing this song on the air.
Yeah, but I feel like when he does the wanking bit, it's more like he's in character. I think with this one, it's just like,
Okay.
fuck yeah, I nailed it, guys. Just
Uh,
it's and I love how like Eric, you talk about the song. It's this podcast, and I've noticed in editing it, it very often turns into me getting too excited and telling you why you should like these things. So tell me
I'm
why
going,
you like these
oh,
things.
okay. Thank you. I agree.
When we get to this part of the podcast, like just stop me. Our listeners will thank you, I think.
Oh, good. Yeah, I mean, it changes. So this falls back into the realm. I mean, it's still good, but it falls back into that familiar realm of you all know this song, so you all know that I know this song, and I know you know the song, and you know the song. So I'm just gonna. So I wrote changes, more like change up your intonation and melodies. So he's just gonna change things up.
Yeah,
I didn't intend to say change. He's just gonna fuck things up.
that's right.
And that's what you do. You got to have fun with the thing that they make you sing every single time you go on stage. And once again, there's a nice sax solo at the end. There's not a whole lot to say about this really, other than your shit story, which is very apt.
Yeah, and I do think it's possible. I don't know for sure, but I get the feeling that at this point, certain songs are becoming like how Radiohead started to feel about Creep, where it's just like, okay, fuckers, here it is. I can't not do it.
Right. Well, yeah, that's how everybody is with the hits.
Right.
I saw ZZ Top once. There was a period of a couple summers where my friends and I would call in on the radio all the time on classic rock radio, and we would get free tickets to concerts because we were the only ones calling. And so like once we would just change up like who's going to call in, and we'd go to a show like every week, and we'd see all these classic rock acts, and one of them, when we saw ZZ Top, one of the things that struck us, because my friend Kevin and I were at the time really into Fish and Humphreys McGee and other jam bands, and we could tell listening to ZZ Top, there was a certain point, because they've been playing the same songs for decades. They've already done the should we do a new album? Nah, let's just keep touring forever. And you could tell they've done it so many times they could just like lie down on the ground and still play everything just fine.
And famously at some point they just started showing up to every town that they went to and just like handed out fake beards and hats and said like, you're us now.
You're up.
Have fun.
It's in the key of E, everybody. And yeah, there was a certain point where you'd get to that part on the album where you would get the fade out, which always bugged me when they do the fade out at the end of a song. They'd get to that point and they'd jam for approximately like 4 bars and then just go ba 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 and then end the song. And you could tell for those 4 bars, they're like, we could do whatever we want because nobody knows what happened in this part of the session when we recorded it. And it felt a little sad because they wanted you could almost feel them wanting to just have fun like they probably do backstage if they bother to play at all. Like you hope that they're still screwing around and having fun and playing stuff together,
right,
instead of just doing the same songs decade after decade without any variation. And that's kind of how it sounds to me with any of these bands when they get to that particular status where they've been doing it forever. They either have to screw around with it or they just have to accept that the audience wants to hear what they expect to hear. And do you give it to them or do you convince them, no, you need to hear it different because I don't care what you say.
Right. I'm trying to find, hold on. Trying to find the commentary for this is Spinal Tap where they do it in character.
Welcome to Criterion
Stop.
These words came out of his mouth. I'll be honest with you. Hey,
That's not it.
important was the arc of the scene, what was going to happen.
Oh, they're actually as themselves in this. That sucks.
Right.
Anyway, there is a version where they're in character. I know I've mentioned this on the show before, but I was hoping I could find it
And
quickly.
off the air last week.
Yeah, it's so good. It makes the movie so much funnier because they're complete idiots. But there's this point where they're performing live, and then they go "Bow out" with the song, and they're like, and that's how you know it's over.
Yep.
It's so good. Let's see. Changes. He's in full lounge singer mode, I think.
Oh yeah, you can see he's probably still making that pose from the cover.
100%. It's
swinging the mic around in between verses.
I
hitting Luther Vandross in the face with it.
Whoopsie. Sorry, Luther.
Here's another 1,000. He just throws a handful of money at him and walks away.
Why not? Sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
We can, because Suffragette City is pretty much the same, except it's got like a harder... I think the guitar has a harder edge to it.
All right, everybody, get on board, because the next stop is a little city called Suffragette. All aboard.
I don't... What?
You go with your thought.
Well, my thought is essentially, really all I wrote here was it's pretty straightforward compared to the album version. Nothing all that interesting until they get to the end and they all start jamming and David, dances around or whatever. So pretty much like the rest of the show, it's hey, okay, he's done singing, great. Let's just do something cool.
Right. This is another song that I over time learned to appreciate this version. And in my initial listen, was I believe I just out on a whim, I went to a used record store. I'm like, I should probably give this a listen. So I listened to the beginning of each track just to kind of get a feel for it, which is the worst way to listen to music. And with this one, I heard, and I was like, all right, I'm out. Hello. Hey, man. It's like, nope, I do not need to listen to this album ever. This is awful, which is unfair. It's because then you get to all the fun stuff that's happening.
Oh, yeah.
David just riffing.
He's like, they can riff, I can do it too.
Yeah.
Listen.
I could be wrong, but I feel like I could be remembering a different version of this song, but I think he references White Light, White Heat at some point in this. The Velvet Underground song. You know what? I'll bore our listeners with all sorts of fuckery. I'm not going to bore them with me.
Okay. All right. I don't know what you're going for. Hey, Aladdin Sane. Upbeat intro, faster tempo, I think, on this one.
Yes. This is where we start getting into some interesting diversions. Not sleepy diversions, not I think he took a bad line of Coke versions, actually okay, we're doing some things and it's interesting.
Well, yeah, there's the bell that you're loving, but but yeah, I really like the feel here with the up tempo, with the sax fighting with Mike Garson throughout, just blasting. The song has a completely different feel, and it almost felt so deliberate, where I wondered if at this point in his career, David's reclaiming the insanity portion. If he's saying, I'm not broken anymore, I can just be Bowie on stage. Of course, all coked up, so maybe that has something to do with it too.
Maybe that's
But
just what the drugs were doing at that particular moment.
maybe he's like, I feel great. I don't
Oh,
feel like Ziggy Who dust. Yeah,
it's like Eastbound. You haven't watched Eastbound and Down either, have you?
I've watched one or two seasons.
Okay. So he's just like, all right, drugs work.
If I haven't seen that, at least it makes sense to hear him say it.
Yeah, and I don't know what instrument it is, but that's somewhere in the background. It's a very subtle thing. Where are you? It shows up. Yeah.
I'm not sure what you're going. What you're.
Yeah. I should take better notes next time.
Copyright law infringement.
If you'd like to sue us, you could email us at David Bowie at
teenagewildlife.net. I should check and see if anybody's emailed us there. I don't know. I haven't looked at that email address in many months.
What a ridiculous email address. I love it. Any more thoughts on that?
That's most of my notes there. Yeah, the piano solo is just as unhinged, and pairing it with a great sax solo, I think, is just phenomenal. I like this song in general, and then this version, like, I think this whole album took a few listens until I started to get it. And this last weekend, I'm like, now I understand what they're doing here. I picked up on this is a band and David Bowie and Mike Garson.
Yeah, and I can tell you from my own experience, this album, I mean, I make fun of it constantly because there's a lot to make fun of. And it's just fun, right? It's like you give your friends shit out of love, you know? And this album, it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving in a lot of ways. In that I think it stands up extremely well, and it doesn't even stand up really well to repeat listenings. It gets better the more you listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
So listener, if you like me early on was like, fuck this album, power through it, give it a couple listens all the way through, and eventually the weirdness and the just complete awkwardness and the tension that's happening, that you might not know that it's there, but you can kind of hear it. It eventually becomes just a really interesting, cool, fun live album. And it's not very often that I get to say fun and David Bowie in the same sentence.
No, it really does sound like everybody's having a good time. Maybe that's why he doesn't like it. It's not serious enough.
I think honestly, I think that this album, the recording of it, was probably the beginning. I can say with almost absolute certainty, this was kind of the beginning of the absolute lowest point in his life. And I'm sure that there was some kind of realization that, like, what the fuck, Bad Tony? Like, what do I even have you here for? You know, like, I can't even trust the guy that I thought, that the only person that I thought I could trust, you know? But I don't know. I could be reading some things into it there. Hey, let's see
what those dudes are doing. How many dudes?
Next stop, Dude Town. Let's see how old that gets.
Baby, I love your rain.
I sure do. Yeah, there is that.
Sorry, every time.
If you was the only one doing that. I'm so glad that there are backup singers confirming that that was in fact planned. And it wasn't just him going, oh. All right, Eric, you go first, and then I'll make the dick jokes because that's how this show's supposed to work.
All right. Okay. Yeah. I suppose on the track sides, yeah, this isn't, it's not the way, side A where I'm like, tell me things.
Right. Entirely my fault.
Dan's been waiting all weekend. I wound him up yesterday. I'm like, you get to talk soon. He's like, oh, yay. Yay. Then I said, haha, sucker. I'm going to go get dinner at 3 p.m.
No, it's just, I think what ends up happening is what I'll have, like, there's all this feeling of like, okay, I think he likes it. And I think I know by now kind of what your reactions might be at certain points. Like I'm eager. I wish I could be a fly on the wall for when you get to track 2 of Young Americans for reasons that I won't say.
Okay.
And it's nothing. It's not even. It's just because it will either confirm or deny whatever you think that album is. That's okay. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right. Well, hey, all the young dudes. I mean, I like that he's reclaiming the song that he wrote.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just taking control here.
No, that's what
moving
you need
on.
to do.
We got
that's
a lot
good.
of songs here.
Yes.
But yeah, I swear it sounds like he's having fun. That, like I said, the last track, this is what I wrote down. I'm like, am I way off, or is he having a good time here? This is where I think yesterday I started to realize the band's not changing. The arrangement isn't changing. We're still just going to shoehorn every instrument on that damn stage into every song, and we're going to find a way to make it work. I was curious. This is where I wrote, who are these people? How much did they practice? Like I could tell Garson after Aladdin Sane. I'm like, that has to be Garson.
Right.
And I like the rest of I mean, sure, he's sprinkled in some of his collaborators, but most of the band is new folks. And you listed them, and I know at the end of the album, he, at least on this version, he says their names, but I don't recognize most of the names.
A previous version of this album included the band intro as a bonus track.
Oh,
thank you, Rykodisc, for that.
Wow. I had what band was it? It was one of the 70s jam bands. I can't remember which band it was. But there was a particular version that they put out on CD. And if you looked at the track list on the back, it was like the same as the record album. But then there was a track that read bonus, and then there was another track. It was them doing the song "Don't Bogart That Joint," and then there was a separate track for bonus.
So it's like Depeche Mode, right?
No, but they got up to the album finishes, and it clicks over to the next track, and the track that was labeled bonus was literally someone going, bonus.
Oh God. Yeah.
So, like it totally different. It was just something that the record label jammed in there so that they could put them covering this other song.
That's wild.
It was so annoying. I couldn't.
Oh yeah, it would be. Hold on. While we do this, I'm gonna go ahead and get this ready for later.
Okay.
On Wood Road House.
It's like the internet was listening to you, and you've got a Danny McBride short on the side there.
The internet doesn't listen to me. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. So that's all I really have for all the young dudes. I mean, it's a good rendition. It's obviously his own song that he wrote, and we're used to. You know, I've never heard Bowie doing the song, so it was kind of interesting. But it also sounds like he's doing his wacky live version of a song that he's done a million times. So I don't know how often he dusted that one off. Himself.
He went on to perform this a lot.
Okay.
Ooh, let's hold on.
Uh-oh.
Soundtrack. Did you even know there was a soundtrack to Roadhouse?
Of course there was a...
Do you know they had music for this movie?
Wow. That's what it was. It was a Little Feat album
Let's see.
where it said bonus. It was a Little Feat album.
Maybe Knock on Wood isn't in this movie. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Knock on wood. Let's see. What do I have that? Where it was? No, that's the disco version.
Brad Wesley.
Otis Redding version. David Bowie. Yeah, I don't know what. I don't know.
It's a clip from Otis.
What a great clip.
It's a monster truck. It's pulled up. He's gonna bust. He's gonna pull some people's throats out of there.
Great. Now the Swayze estate is gonna sue us.
Well, they can duke it out with Iman. This is not good audio. Anyway, let's see. All the young dudes.
All the young dudes.
It's they do that weird pacing thing again, but I think it helps the song because you can actually hear and digest the lyrics, I think. And
yeah, the lyrics sound a little different. You're right.
And I think that the like weird darkness of the lyrics is more on full display, but it's also juxtaposed by the band itself being more vibrant, which I think is an interesting thing to happen.
It doesn't sound as dark. I mean, not that Mott the Hoople's version sounds dark, but it's not like sinister. This is a much more joyful, alive version.
It is almost joyful, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I get the feeling that the band was just like, oh, here's some really cool songs that this guy wrote that have a lot of meat on, like, there's a lot of conceptual meat on the bones with all these songs. And at the same time, he kind of doesn't give a shit what we do with it, like in a positive way. He's like, yeah, go nuts. I don't fucking care. Like,
I paid you, didn't I?
Right. Just play
notes.
Just get me to the places that I need to be in the song and get me out in a reasonable way, and then just do whatever the fuck you want.
There you go.
Yeah.
Cracked Actor. We're moving on. If you're ready to move on.
I'm ready.
Cracked Actor. I hated this version at first.
Yeah. Was it the keyboard sound?
No, that's kind of cool.
I have such a disdain for wacky keyboard sounds. Like wacky,
nice.
like that sort of with the messed up. It's like
it's the saxophone.
Oh,
like
yeah.
That riff. They just keep doing it over and over again, and but it gets stuck in my head for days. And like I don't actually like the original song that much. It's kind of interesting, but in general, I'm not all that enamored with it. But now I think the intro is kind of weird and cool, and I don't know. It still feels like an odd song to do in a live show, like other things I've mentioned. Like why are we suddenly doing this song? I mean, lyrically it stands out as a like story wise it stands out, but it's a live show. There's no story usually.
It's weird. I always have thought that Cracked Actor in time I enjoy a lot more live.
Okay. And I enjoy the song more live as well now. Yeah. Now that I've really listened to it, I like it better than the album.
Because I think that I feel like at the time that he recorded the album Aladdin Sane, it was still sort of like that, like, okay, is this a cabaret act? Am I still Ziggy? What is this? But like as he gets further away from that period of time, I think he got more comfortable being like, yeah, I'm going to tell this song tells the story it evokes a certain emotion, and I'm just going to commit to that and not worry about having it be like, hey, it's a cutesy thing. It's more like, no, this is a guy that is like nuts, and and I'm going to commit to this cracked actor character and how like weird and demented and tragic he is,
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely does point out that it hits that one note a whole lot in the saxophone, but you're right. I think it takes off. I think that like especially the second half.
Oh yeah.
When everything starts to get dialed in, it's like, okay, I see what they're doing.
Right. And I love at the end of the guitar solo, the whole band cuts back in this hard cut where they just all come back. That's great.
Oh.
Now before that. Before that, probably. Okay, so not too far back. I think this is what I wrote. Was I writing it on the right song?
Going
You'd
forward,
be the judge.
Going forward, we both need to have timestamps.
Yeah, I should probably.
I mean, to be fair, we haven't been including the music
right
now, so
whatever. You listen to it, listener.
Right.
And this feels like it's the end of like that. Like there's a set break here, but I don't know that actually happens. It seems like a good time for David Bowie to go. All right, everybody, we'll be back in half an hour.
I'm gonna go patter my nose, everybody. All right. Anyway, 70s.
You always were one that knew.
There's a little bit of a false start again there, where it's he's kind of finding his place. It's like, I really do think that he was just having fun with the fact that he had a band that would just kind of follow him wherever he was going to go.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about Rock and Roll With Me. It's still a good song. It doesn't change all that much. Like you said, it starts up a little weird, but they get into a rhythm and they go through, and it's not exciting, but it's not that exciting a song. It's
right.
It's pleasant. Still pleasant.
Yeah. I really do like that song.
Watch that, man. Oh, this is where I wrote this has to be a set break.
Oh, right.
Does he say you win at the start?
You win, I think.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Let's see. Win. Maybe it's UN.
UN?
Like you're like telling the drummer, you in.
Oh, you in. Oh,
you
okay.
In.
That makes sense. Because, yeah, they kick it off. This is faster than the album, I believe. It's great solos in it. It's very different. Well, not that different, I feel. I guess there's some pretty heavy backup singers in the original. This is a jam on this version. It's great.
This is another song that I appreciate it on the album version, and I don't really care for live music in general, but I've really
gotten that
like
impression.
Yeah, I really like this song live. It's
yeah, this is just the band doing their thing again.
Yeah.
Nothing all that exciting. Well, I mean, it's a good song, so that's exciting. But.
Yeah, and I think he's just letting the song be the song at this point. It's just like, this is a rockin' song. Let's rock.
That's a good song. Yeah. Just do it. Knock on Wood. Like I said, I was really surprised to hear this. He intros the song by saying some extras tonight, some silly ones.
I think he says Philly ones.
Philly ones. That makes more sense now.
It does, but it does sound like he says silly.
Okay. So, saying Philly makes, that really, okay.
Well, because he's in Philly and he's like,
And that's the sound he's going for.
Yeah, he's into it, and he's embracing it. And I think it was almost the same energy of when he's like, these children that they shit on. It's like, yeah, you're gonna like this.
Yeah, and let's see. This one was on the original album.
Mm-hmm.
This was written in 1966 by Eddie Floyd. It hit number 28 on the Billboard charts.
Wow.
And let's see, Bowie released it in 74 with Panic in Detroit on the B-side, not Panic in Detroit from this album.
Right. Oh yeah, this was the single for the live album.
Right.
Yeah.
And the single hit number 10 in the UK. That was the highest
That's crazy.
chart it got to. And then Amy Stewart went gold with her disco version of the song in 1979. Yeah. So I don't think there's anything too special with this performance, but
No.
I wrote, they do sound like they're having fun. That's nice, right?
And here's that bell that I love so much.
We're going to put in some extras tonight.
There it is. You can tell that this has haunted me for years.
Dang.
It's like there's that fucking bell again.
That's all I'll ever be able to hear from now on. Cracked Actor is out of my head. Now it's just dang.
Anytime that bell rings, I guarantee I am noticing it in the most menacing ways.
Oh, gosh. All right. I don't think we have to say much about that. Let's see. Here Today, Gone Tomorrow, an Ohio Players song from their first album, their 1969 debut album. You know the Ohio Players, listener. They did Fire and Love Roller Coaster.
Ooh. I forgot that this track was on this album.
It was not on the original. Well,
There
I
you
already
go.
said that.
There
But
you
yeah.
go. Yeah.
When did it show up? Was it on
I think it's
90?
it might be the more recent remix.
No, it wasn't on there until 2005.
Wow.
Yeah.
I really like this track. And I remember yesterday listening to this, and I think I even said out loud to myself, I really like this song.
It's solid soul. It's good.
Yeah.
It's an interesting choice for Bowie, and it works.
Yeah. I mean, no one's doing anything wrong on this track. Here, let's get a little bit of there. Let's tempt them on with her litigious ways. Here, come on.
Same thing.
There we go.
Look so wrong and out of place.
Like,
Stay for a while, leave without a trace. That's how you show your love for me.
He's even doing it well.
yeah.
Like he sounds like he belongs singing the song. He's not some weird white British guy singing the song. I don't want to say he sounds like he's black or a soul artist, but he doesn't sound completely out of place with the rest of the band. He sounds like he's into it.
Yeah, and I think that on this track, what I noticed is that a lot of the soulish moves that he was making with his own music that maybe I don't know if didn't fit or doesn't fit is the right term, because I think it's different from what we're used to, right? So that it's going to initially have this feeling of like, yeah, that's a choice, isn't it, Dave? You know, not good or bad. It's just that it's a little bit jarring, and I like that he was making those choices, but again, you kind of, at least for me, I kind of just like, I notice the choices more than I do just like listen to it. But with this track, song, I have no familiarity with the original, and it just works because he's just able to do what he wants to do with it.
It's experimentation, and he totally pulls it off.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Speaking of experimentation, let's hop on the space train to go to Space Oddity.
We already talked about why this wasn't on the original album. How did they rescue the audio?
I have no idea.
Like, if it was that bad. That's some major remastering.
I don't know. I mean, you can still kind of hear some artifacts in it.
Yeah, there's some weirdness in there.
Yeah.
There's a buzz.
And I initially thought that they saved this just to be like, hey, we have Space Oddity back, everybody. But it's actually,
Peculiar way.
yeah, it's the performance is good. I think. I think. Sorry,
Yeah, I really
you go
enjoy.
First. You go first.
Okay. I like the slow intro. It's like plotting.
Mm-hmm.
It's very regimented. You get that snare going, and it sounds militaristic. The guitar effects work really well to simulate the weirdness of the original track in a live setting. Same with the piano. The piano just coming like floating over everything is a really nice touch as well. But I'm glad they kept it slow.
Right.
Now, it's interesting that the only time that was kind of jarring for me was when they get to the second act, the bum, bum, ba bum, ba clap, clap, like that, that stays slow. They keep it the same tempo. Maybe it speeds up a little bit, but it's not this abrupt shift like in the original song where there are 3 distinct acts in it. This one is just keep going. And it's got this great guitar solo in that second area. So it's not as weird sounding completely as the original, but it's live and it's the 70s. So you're not gonna do it the way you used to do it.
Yeah, and I think that they are definitely in this place of like, first of all, if there weren't like a million mirror balls going during this, then they messed up. But that moment you mentioned where, it doesn't speed up, it is very much, I think, a moment of like, nope, we are doing this. We are doing it this way. This is what makes sense. And I really appreciate how, I mean, it's hard to play keep away with the song because it's like, it's the song, right?
Right.
And I like that they bring it in a way where it's like, is he doing it? Is this? Oh, he's doing it. He's doing the thing. I think that was live. Seeing it live, that was probably an extremely satisfying experience of like, okay, why is he? What's happening? Okay, he's on this thing above us. He's on a phone. What's happening? Oh, it's Space Oddity. Okay. This is a cool way to do it.
He's calling home.
Yeah. Yeah. I generally, this, again, I think I've mentioned before, this song is, I acknowledge it's a really good song. I like the song a lot as a song. I appreciate, it's like when you go to Disneyland as many times as you've been, as you've been and as I've been, you don't get that excited about seeing Mickey Mouse, right? And this song is like that for me. It's like, okay, I acknowledge that it's important. I acknowledge it's a big deal. I acknowledge that a lot of people really appreciate it. I love that they appreciate it. We don't get this person's career without this song. I totally appreciate it, but I can get tired of it very, very quickly, simply because it's like the Mickey Mouse of his catalog, almost literally. But having said that, this is a very good rendition of that song.
Yeah, it's fresh, even though it's slower. It works. It's different enough without being wacky.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this comes from him basically, and it's absolute speculation on my part, educated guess. I think that he, at some point, knew that he could trust the band, and he was just like, I'm going to go up on that thing. You guys just make the song work. And they did.
There we go. All right, Diamond Dogs. This is a Diamond Dogs tour. And there's howling at the end. Why,
Yeah.
Dan?
Because they're dogs.
Okay, thank you. And it kind of drags at the end. It actually seems kind of flabby compared to the album, which is fake live.
Yeah, I every time I listen to the album version, I'm like, this is probably awesome live. And then when I listen to the live version, I'm like, nope.
Nope. Panic in Detroit.
It's a 6 minute and 26-second song.
Man, it drags.
It needs to be 3 minutes and 13 seconds.
Right.
We don't. It's the second refrain. It doesn't need to be. It's not even that it's a bad. It's kind of a bad song. It's not a terrible song. And in the scope and breadth of David Bowie's entire career, it's not. It is so far from being one of his worst things. And we'll get there. Don't
All
worry.
right. Can't wait.
But it
All right.
don't play the whole. Cut it.
It doesn't need to be. Yeah, it doesn't need to be the longest. One of the longest on the track.
I feel like
Width of the Circle wins, doesn't it? Oh, Sweet Thing wins, but that's 3 songs.
Yeah. I feel like surely someone at some point pulled him aside and was like, David, you don't need to bring the song back after the end where everything sounds like it's like that part that sounds like everything's coming to a conclusion. That can be the conclusion.
You could end it. Yeah, it could be done.
It's like Blade Runner 20, whatever. It's like that movie had 17 different endings. And it's like, it's like, I don't care anymore. Okay.
Panic in Detroit. Are they piping in screaming because of the panic? Or is the crowd being told to scream?
That's a good question.
I mean, it's a cool intro, but I can't imagine the crowd is screaming that much for Panic in Detroit.
Hold on. That's a good question. Let's see how Diamond Dogs. What?
Oh, no. Wrong button.
Let's see how this one. Let's see. It is piped in, I think.
It sounds, it doesn't sound like the same crowd noise you get in the other tracks.
Yeah, and I think they start piping it in at the end. And that most likely got the audience to start screaming as well, just because that's what audiences do. But yeah, that's an interesting observation. I didn't catch that.
Woo! I observed it. This didn't make the album until 2005 as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said earlier, I really like the solos trading toward the end. It's pretty straightforward from the original. I might like this more than the original because of the band.
Yeah, I think I like it more. And because I love saxophone and David Sanborn so much, as my parents were convinced that one Christmas.
Don't forget Richard Grando.
Right. That
it's because he doesn't have two albums that you own.
I don't have those albums anymore.
Oh.
I like the sort of.
Oh no! Wait, this just in. This just in. David Sanborn died May 12th, 2024. R.I.P. David.
Too soon. Well,
78. What a young man. He's not even old enough to be president.
And then we have Big Brother. Speaking of presidents, I'm not a huge fan of Panic in Detroit as a song.
Yeah.
I do like I mentioned in the episode for Aladdin Sane, I like that that it makes my brain think that it's speeding up, but it's not. I enjoy those kinds of things. But this is I kind of like you said, it's like it's a good band, and the band is doing good work with a song that is actually far better when it's just treated like a song.
Yeah. It's sound wise, musically, that's the word. Musically, it's a good song.
Mm-hmm.
There's a good basis for something that you would want to hear live. Is that it for that one?
I think so. I do appreciate that they do the solos. And I also like the
backup singers.
The album version felt like, and I think it's on purpose, it feels like you're like running when you listen to it.
Yeah.
Like, it's very much this sort of thing.
That's fair, and this is more laid back, even though it's upbeat.
Yeah,
they're having a good time.
This one, that's like they're hitting the twos and the fours, but like it gets to almost gets to like a funk place without losing that urgency, which is really not easy to do. I don't think. They did great work. Good job, everybody.
Yeah,
David
solid.
Sanborn, rest in peace. Yeah. Moment of silence for David Sanborn, everybody. Okay, Big Brother.
Tony Newman's still alive.
Oh, good. Okay, so you know what? It's like it never happened.
Big Brother. I wrote, this is another interesting choice, unless this is a Diamond Dogs tour, which it is.
It sure is an interesting choice.
But I like this arrangement. The Mellotron and the acoustic guitar kind of switch things up a little bit. That's fun. And it has some heart. It's not quite, again, it's another one of those dark songs that doesn't feel oppressive as on the album, despite the content.
That's true. I like that they performed it live. I find it very interesting. I've absolutely no complaints about this happening. At the same time, I'm sitting listening to him like, what have you done?
Aren't there
like I understand why.
Couldn't you play like The Man Who Sold the World or something from another album that people like?
Well, no, not even that. It's just there's certain,
because of the emotional attachment you have to it, where you don't want it.
I want it
fucked around with.
I want it to hurt. I want this song. I want it to be gross and just. I want to feel
that
dirty.
grimy feeling.
Yeah, I want that.
Album,
you've lost that grimy feeling, and I completely understand why. It's
that grimy feeling.
I get it. All the right choices were made in terms of if you're going to perform a Big Brother live, which I approve of. Hold on. I approve of that. I need to hide this whistle from myself.
That one didn't really pick up by your mic, so you're lucky.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. You lucked out. Your high pass filter went, nope. Your tomfoolery filter.
Yeah.
Got it.
And no issues with it existing. It's simply because I am how I am and I like the things I like. It's just I don't feel like I need to take a shower when I listen to this version of it, and I miss that.
Okay. All right.
But I love that they include the chant at the end.
Right. I was going to say, I was just about to cut you off and say, and they left the chant in. And they left the repeater effect at the end.
Yes.
Which is great.
And I can only imagine people being taken to this. Well, I mean, by this time in the concert, they're either into it or they're not. But I like imagining people who are like taken to the concert like casually. I mean, this was back when concert tickets were like a gum wrapper could get you in, right? So,
hey, look over there. What?
Right. Haha. I'm in the audience now.
He turns back around. You're like, oh, can I just go in?
Right. I just love the idea that someone would go, it's like, oh, David Bowie, I've heard about him. And then they get to Big Brother. It's like, all right, this is weird, but this has been weird, so that's fine. And then we finally get to the chant, and they're like, what the fuck is happening?
And this was on the original album.
Is this the most pretentious point in David Bowie's live career? To date, yes, but there's more coming.
Oh, good.
And I love it. I'm here for it. I love it.
Time?
He's waiting in the wings.
Oh. Again, this one's a lot like the original. It works great.
Yeah.
I timed it. It is just under 60 beats per minute. So
Ooh.
I thought for a second, I'm like, this feels like it's almost 60. Did they time it to a clock? And they did not, but they got close. It's like 59 or 58, where after a few seconds it's off, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was kind of fun. Like it's more plotting than the original in a way, but I think that works.
Yeah, and I like that they let Mike Garson off the leash a little bit.
Oh yeah,
let him run free, get his wiggles out.
He's out in a field with a piano.
He's got
running around.
He's got his piano zoomies going on. And again, I appreciate that they mic'd him this time. It was great.
Yes.
Thank you, Tony. You piece of shit.
Anything else on time?
He's still alive. Time. Let's see. I think, like I mentioned before, again, this is one of those songs that I think it really benefits from being performed live.
Mm-hmm.
I think that his songwriting on this really shines when when it's live, he can really let the song showcase how great his writing is. I love that line, "We should be on by now." It's such an underappreciated little sprinkling of lyric goodness that it's just that.
I also really like when he sings die 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 die.
Yeah.
Although he sings something different on this one, doesn't he? That's on the original album. Doesn't he sing a different nonsense lyric on this? Or placeholder? I'm suddenly thinking. That was a joke, but...
that's Big Brother.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah, because he's able to just, like, chew it up a little bit.
Okay, he's just singing.
Yeah. This is another one that benefits a lot from being slowed down, I think.
It does. It still has a drive to it. But maybe that's because we associate 60 with clocks. I don't know. I can't see.
Yeah.
The evening sun is blaring at my face in Dan's room.
Oh my goodness. It's my radiant personality.
It's 2 square inches on my screen.
There we go. It was bothering me.
There we go. But yeah, that's it. It's a good song live, and I mean, I like the original, but this is fun too. It's different.
Yeah, I don't know how to put it. I like both of these tracks, Time and Cracked Actor, less so Cracked Actor. Just fine on the source material on Aladdin Sane, but they really do so much better live.
Yeah.
I can't say that enough. And Time it's a song that he sticks with for a good amount of time throughout his career, and it's kind of just always that. It's kind of always at this point in the concert, and I kind of like how it exists for the fandom, where it's just like, oh, this is the song that we get before the other two, before like the stretch of songs that he does before we get to Rock and Roll Suicide, you know. And eventually White Light, White Heat gets thrown in there. Like it's not fun. Yeah, it's not so much that it's like it's the same thing over and over again, but every band has their tells of like, okay, we're at about the 3/4 point. That's where we do this song. Um, Width of a Circle.
Hell yeah.
I love that they're still doing this song live.
It's another weird choice. But the soprano sax totally rules in the intro.
Oh, absolutely. And I love that they added that little tag in there that dun, 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 dun. I don't can't do it off the top of my head, but you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay. It you go first. Sorry.
I don't have a whole lot to say other than this really works well live in a way
Yep.
that I didn't think it would. And I think it's such I love the way it works as an intro song on the album.
Mhm.
But here toward the end of the concert, it still works really well, and it's got tons of room for improv.
Right.
The band just eats it up, I think.
Well, and I think that yesterday when I was listening to it, I thought a lot about like, okay, well, this song has been around for this amount of time, not a ton of time, but enough time. And he's, it feels like the song has matured a little bit where like, first time around, it felt kind of like, r/atheist Reddit poster who was also making a dick joke. Where it's just like, oh, well, look what I found out. It's like, have you ever considered that maybe God is the devil? And you're like, oh, you suck.
I'm going to do him.
Yeah. And then, what if God had a dick? And like, and you're just, it's that, you're just like, oh, shut up, stop talking. Please stop talking. Please stop talking. And the song always had a little bit of that to it, and in a fun, playful way. I think it's always it's a very he's always played that line very well, where it's like I know I'm being that person, but I'm gonna completely be that person right now, and we're both gonna kind of laugh at it. And I think this time around, it's like, okay, let's actually treat the song like a legitimate song.
A song people want to listen to and might not pay attention to the lyrics. And
yeah, if they do, they do, and that's fine. But like, it's this time around, I think it's getting less performative, less like, have you ever considered that like the universe is like a giant atom or something? Like just dumb shit. It leaves that sort of feel behind, and now it's just a good band performing a good song goodly.
There's a lot of that on this album.
Yeah,
as
totally.
we're finding.
Hold
Anything
on.
else? I'm getting kind of hungry here, and we're doing this way later than we thought.
I'm getting close. I need to make sure that I don't need to get that doorbell. 1 second.
Oh, okay. All right, listener. Now, while Dan's blinding me with the sun, now's the time. When Dan comes back, we're going to play a joke on Dan. When Dan comes back, pretend that the internet froze, and that we can't hear him. So when he sits back down, just pretend that we can't hear him, even though we totally can. It'll be a real gas, right? Okay. So let's practice right now. Hello? Hey, what? You're not moving. Okay, see, just like that. Great job. Now you do it. Mm-hmm. Oh, good. Yeah, I like that one. Good line. Okay, less profanity. This is a family show. Okay. Wait. Oh, okay. He's coming. Hey, get. Okay. Get. Just. Okay. Yeah. Get ready. Okay. Hang. All right, listeners, get ready.
Huh?
Okay. Now.
Okay. New house.
Hey, Dan. Dan, are you back?
What? I'm back.
Are you back?
I'm back.
I can't. You're frozen. I can't see you. Are you back?
Oh, I know
can't
what
hear
you're
you.
doing. I know what you're doing.
Listener, he caught us. Oh,
Okay.
wow, he's a smart
You
guy.
almost got me. Yeah, new housemate arrived and the dogs are gonna go nuts, but we're almost done talking about these tracks, so
Yeah.
sorry, listener, you're gonna just hear some stuff in the background for a little bit.
And my dog's been going berserk for 2 hours.
So, Width of a Circle, we have done the full circumference of that song, right?
There we go. Yes. Oh,
That's a
geometry joke.
geometry joke. Yeah.
All right. Now you need a slide whistle.
Damn it.
Gene Genie.
Gene Genie?
I really like this take on Gene Genie. It's another song where I'm like, oh, that's a pretty good song. Here, it's different, and I really like it. More improv, more room for the band to play. I love the extended guitar solo. I finally liked this song. I didn't dislike it before. It was just like, oh, okay, it's a song.
Sorry, finish your thought and then I'll talk.
I wrote 2 more things here. I love the wacky jam at the end with as after everybody cuts. So it ends, the saxes are the last ones to cut, and then the drummer goes ding on a cymbal.
Bell.
It's not the bell, it's a cymbal.
Oh, okay.
But then my last line I wrote, Dan, do you not like live improvisational music?
I don't. I mean, I don't want to give the wrong impression. I appreciate the musicianship of it. I can like it, but I don't. So if you were to say to me, we're going to go, I know we said we were going to like hang out and we didn't have any plans. So I figured we'll go watch this band.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately, I will try to think of a way to get out of it.
Okay.
And not because I know it will be bad, but because there's such a high chance that it will be bad, or that it will only be good in moments. And then I'm just stuck there during the bad parts with no ability to carry on a conversation. And I don't like being a captive to anything. I like being able to
Well, it sounds like you need to want to go to a show as opposed to having somebody pull the rug out from under you and say, we're going to go see this band. My friend's in it.
Yeah. And I think maybe that comes from just me having so many of those kinds of experiences where
And that's what it sounds like. Yeah. You've been hurt before.
I've been hurt several times. And I think a lot of it also comes from people, let's see, what is it? I think a lot of times people would be like, but you like music, right? So that means you like music in every form. And it's that same thing where it's just like, oh, you like David Bowie, right? That means you must really love The Cure. I'm like, nope, that's not what that means. That's not at all what that means.
No,
that is not how that works. I mean, I understand that there are people in this world who it's like, that means that they will like The Cure, because I don't know, maybe that's just how their brains work. But like, I like David Bowie because I like what he does. I like Pulp because I like what they did. Doesn't mean I necessarily like Blur, you know? Sure as hell doesn't mean that I like, who are those brothers? Those douchebag brothers?
The Isley
Oasis.
Brothers. Oasis.
Definitely means it definitely doesn't mean that I like Oasis. I fucking hate them. But does it mean that I like Suede? Maybe, but I do like Suede. So sure, a line could be, I don't know. I don't know how to explain my music problems, but I'm aware that I'm probably the weird one.
It's all right. It's all right,
Okay.
Dan.
Anyway. Gene Genie.
I wound you up there, but yeah, I get it. I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Gene Genie, your thoughts?
I like this song. I've always liked this song. And it's weird that, hold on, let me remind myself what this one sounds like. All right. Okay. Um, yeah, this song it was never on an album,
Hmm.
and it's always been this weird little thing that people I think forget exists, which I like about it. I've always really appreciated this song though. I think this is one of the songs that I just have a pure nostalgic feel for because I can remember he, I think I don't have an objective view of this song is what I'm trying to say because
Okay.
it
No, that's fine.
it just works on that like lizard brain sense memory place for me where it's like, hey, you know, I'm playing with the Berenstein Bears thing that like my grandparents gave me, and that's cool. And like it kind of takes me back to a time, and it's one of only a few songs that do that. So fuck you if you don't like
Wow.
it. No, I mean it's I understand.
That's directed at me because I said I don't like the original all that
No,
much. Wow.
it's not. Uh,
Oh.
no, it's I understand why people don't necessarily care about it, think about it, like but it's just it exists in a weird special place for me. Um it also for whatever reason occupies a similar space in a different way. Occupies a similar space in my brain as Blue Jean, his song from the 80s. They're both kind of songs that like people as far as I can tell, people forget that they exist and that they aren't terrible.
Well,
But
that's pleasant.
it is
That's a
pleasant.
pleasant sentiment.
Yeah, and we'll get to the album tonight in a little bit and we'll get to hear all the songs that surround Blue Jean, which make it stand out all the more.
Oh, I can't wait.
Oh,
Hey, let's commit suicide here and then wrap it up.
we're gonna commit to our rock and roll suicide.
Oh, the transcript on Apple's gonna ban our show.
Oh, Apple's already sending me a text, giving me all sorts of hotlines.
I really like this version. This quiet intro, it's kind of sweet.
Time takes a cigarette,
Yeah,
puts it in your mouth.
I feel like he kind of always enjoyed this song for some reason.
I mean, it's a great ending song.
How else are you going to end a David Bowie concert?
Well, yeah, he already wrote the best ending song he could do.
100%.
I mean,
Yeah.
it starts out so soft and emotional, and then at the end, it's still emotional, but it's screaming. It's tearing your shirt open, emotional.
Yeah, yeah.
Or it can be, or it can just be a fucking jam session.
Yeah, I think I forget at what point in his career he stopped ending all of his concerts with this song. I understand why. It was probably like oh God, this shit again. But oh my God, you could just create this song that is you could throw all sorts of, it's like how you can make a casserole out of anything as long as you put cheese on top of it. It's
and rice or noodles
and
in there
rice
somewhere.
or noodles
Or both.
It's just anything that would make any amount of sense. Throw it in there. Cream of mushroom, peas, celery. I mean, you just name
that half a carrot you didn't finish eating at lunch.
Half a carrot you didn't finish eating. Can of Spam that will just like melt in the oven and become congealed goodness throughout the whole thing. Like, you're not going to put like chocolate pudding in there like a maniac. Who would do that? But
No,
like,
you put it off to the side.
put it off to the side.
For dipping.
That's to dip your casserole into the pudding. Exactly. But like you have this, it's like this perfect construction. It's so hard to fuck it up. And then as long as you put that layer of cheese on top of it, it's going to work. Same thing works. This rock and roll suicide is that layer of cheese that Mama Bowie puts on top of the casserole. And when you see that cheese a bubbling on top, it's all crispy and everything. You're like, it's rock and roll suicide time, motherfuckers.
Yeah. There you go.
All right, it's rock and roll
Okay.
suicide time for this episode, everybody. I
Hey,
don't know how long. Yep. What?
Real quick thoughts about the album. We did a little bit of overall. Do you have any other overall thoughts? Because I've got an interesting parallel, other than the parallel to Benihana that I came up with in a labored fashion.
I think you need to go first because I will go forever if
Okay.
you don't.
Well, I could just cut you off. Yeah, you'll censor yourself. You'll realize that after all that casserole talk, you need some pudding.
You still don't know how my brain works.
What?
So, okay, you give us
right.
some casserole and I'll give us some pudding at the end.
All right, sounds good. So thinking back on Howard Stern saying this was his intro to David Bowie, and Bowie not necessarily liking that because he's got his carefully curated albums that maybe not always carefully curated, but he didn't put as much effort into this perhaps as he did into creating the albums that he had leading up to it. I think the parallel to me is I had heard Talking Heads songs before, but until I heard Stop Making Sense,
right,
it none of it clicked, and
okay.
I love Stop Making Sense. Now, there's a little bit of a difference. Stop Making Sense is possibly one of the best live film performances, like live filmed, like the movie Stop Making Sense is one of the best band movies ever.
I completely agree, and I don't like live music. I love that movie.
It's so well put together. The
Yep.
concert is an experience. Like they made sure that the process of adding new band members every single song until there's just tons of people on the stage exploding. I introduced other people to Talking Heads because of this album, because it was the same way that it really hooked me. J.R. Trimp.
Right.
J.R. didn't like Talking Heads until I went, you want to hear Cross-Eyed and Painless? You think Fish does Cross-Eyed and Painless better than Talking Heads? No, you are incorrect. Listen to this version. And so the analogy isn't quite the same, but that allowed me to go back to all of their previous albums and then say, I get it now. I see what they're doing. The minimalist, just the four of them approach worked in a different way after I went, oh, wow, they created this amazing experience. Now I can strip it back to the originals and enjoy them in a different way. So I can understand how Stern might listen to this album, because as we've been talking about it, the more, like you said, the more we listen to it, the more I like it. The more we've talked about it, the more I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, every single song we're like, this is pretty good. I kind of like it. Actually, I really like it. It's a different, it's a different experience, especially the way we've been approaching it, going album by album. And it's jarring for someone who's just been going through the albums up to this point and may have never heard a Bowie performance at all live.
Okay.
Or you're used to the way the songs are originally done. This is a very weird experience in a lot of ways, but I really appreciate what ended up happening as a result. And this is like the prime version of it, because it's the fourth version that, like, after the third time putting out the album, they went back and said, we can make it sound better.
Right.
And it took decades. It took 30 years to make this album, 40 years to make this album sound good.
That's true,
Perhaps.
because it hasn't been complete in this form until somewhat recently. That's
right.
2016
remaster. Maybe I would think completely differently. I think I would think completely differently if I heard the original version.
That's true, and I do think it's actually it's fair to say that anyone listening to this who hasn't listened to the remaster, I think. I don't know if anyone deals with discs anymore, but what is the first disc on Spotify or Apple, it's kind of, I mean, at least as far as the tracks go, it's basically the same as
Pretty much,
what
yeah.
you're used to. After Knock on Wood, though, it really does take off, and it starts. I think you get a really good feel for what the. There's a few false starts, I think, on the first half, but not in a necessarily bad way. It's just sort of like, I think they're just kind of establishing that this is a David Bowie concert and David Bowie things are going to happen at the David Bowie concert. And then once they've kind of like gotten into the groove of like, okay, we could at any moment do a sweet thing, just so you're aware. Then I think they feel more free to just like be a good, we've been saying this a lot, just be a good band. I had a thought. What the hell was it? I can't say it. I mean, I make fun of this album a lot, and I think for good reason. But again, it's out of love. It really is out of love. I do love this. It's what you were talking about, where with it taking like 30 years to become what it is. It is kind of like the Little Weird album that could, in a lot of ways, where it's like, okay, I completely understand why he didn't like it. And I think maybe this is what I was thinking while you were talking about that, is that like it's hard for me to completely remove the biographical information from this period, and especially from this album, because I knew going in that he didn't like this album, and I had some idea why, and I knew kind of where he was going. I knew that like we reached peak cocaine in a couple of albums, and I mean, I make a lot of jokes, but like it was a extremely sad, dark time for him. Maybe not now, but we're getting there. So it's sort of always going to have that flavor to it. But honestly, revisiting this album has been more rewarding than revisiting the previous ones for me, because I was able to just, I think a part of it was I was able to listen to it through what I kind of imagined your lens was, as somebody who, liked jam bands and appreciated just the musicianship of it. I was able to kind of put those ears on a little bit and kind of go like, oh yeah, no, that is really good,
Okay.
So anyway,
all right.
I guess that's my way of saying thank you for that.
Well, thank you, and you're welcome. I appreciate that. I guess that's why we do this, huh?
It is, and that's also why I need to shut up a little bit more and let you talk.
The dog attacking me tells me that it's half an hour past when he normally eats.
Okay. Well, listener, in case you haven't caught on, I have definitely caught on that I need to let Eric make more observations and be less of a maniac. This is just coming from somebody listening to the show as I edit it. So I
will do my best to speak up more.
And I'll do my best to mediate my own excitement. And I'm saying that again, not because I think that, I'm saying that as a listener to the show myself. So listener, if I'm off base, fine. It's still a choice that I think needs to be made for my own enjoyment. So, no guilt felt, just an acknowledgement that, sort of redirection a little bit. Why am I still talking about this? Anyway, I'm going to stop sharing. Let's see. I guess that's it. Eric, I need to eat too. You know what's exciting? I went to Trader Joe's.
And
I got 2 frozen items, and I cannot remember what the second one is.
Ooh. Wow.
It's like Christmas.
And I've got leftover Benihana to eat.
Like double. Hold on. There you go. That's for
Nice.
that's for your onions. All right,
Let's
everybody.
see.
Hmm?
Let's see. If you enjoy the show, please visit us on become a patron. Go to the
Mhm.
place
Yep.
of the Patreon and look for us, and then you get our slides. We'll figure out what to do for this one where we didn't make slides.
We don't have slides for this one.
We could just put all of our notes out there.
I mean, yeah, maybe.
I
We'll
do have to
figure it
post
out.
the Diamond Dogs notes still.
Yeah.
I downloaded them today, but we'll think of something. We'll do more movie reviews, perhaps.
The closer we get to more of his video / movie stuff, the more interesting and dynamic and frankly easy to do the Patreon will become, because
Fantastic, and it's a bargain.
We can have a watch along for the Man Who Fell to Earth.
Okay, yeah.
That's going to be.
I have not seen that.
It's a fucking weird movie.
All right.
And we got videos. We're gonna get to a sweet spot where the Patreon won't necessarily have to just be my sloppy toppies. So to speak.
Okay. Well, that sounds great, and it's a great value because it's $2, one for each of us.
That's right. Unless you're in Canada.
Unless you're in Canada.
Charge you an extra $1 for that weird ass money that you have.
And please like our show and maybe leave a comment.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have bad comments, start out with a 5-star review, please.
Totally.
We'll take the bad comments. I don't care.
That would actually be awesome.
You know, yeah. Give us bad comments. We'll do our best to improve or tell you that you're wrong.
Yeah, Eric will tell us. Eric will figure out how we can improve, and I'll tell you that we're wrong.
Yeah, and maybe I'll post things on the Intergram, Instanet, that one.
I believe they call it MySpace.
Oh yes.
Okay.
All right. Dog wants food.
Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
We love you.